Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Candy and my topic is on relationships. I did a video just yesterday talking about if you're afraid to love, the topic of relationships. And my video today has to do with 3 things that will affect our relationships in a negative way. In any relationship, usually the beginning in relationships when it comes to especially in a boyfriend-girlfriend and develops into an engagement, then a marriage. Usually in the beginning of a relationship, everything seems pretty positive, almost perfect. It's smooth sailing. Everything they say, everything they do, it's cute, it's adorable. Even the little disagreements or everything is adorable. And so in marriage, it's not long before, it might take a few months, but it's not long before the honeymoon phase is over. And then you realize you didn't marry a perfect person after all, right? You start to notice little things about them, and the same for you. They start to notice things about you. So I want to talk about 3 things that actually are an issue or a problem, an obstacle when it comes to our relationships. One of them is misunderstandings. Once you come out of the initial relationship, the beginnings of it, where everything is perfect and lovey-dovey, you start to realize that your spouse, you find out and realize that you don't think alike at all. You have to understand that the differences of opinion, they're normal and they're inevitable. That's going to happen. There's gonna be misunderstandings. You're going to run into situations where you thought one thing, but it's actually another thing. The fact that there's misunderstandings and you don't work through them, you don't resolve them, you don't talk through them, can actually impact your relationship in a very negative way. The second thing that can impact our relationships in a negative way is it's having this attitude of me first. It's like being selfish. When you're single, everything revolves around you. But when you enter a relationship, that changes. And if it doesn't change, that's the problem, is that we have to learn in relationships that there has to be a compromise. And you have to find creative solutions that meet the needs of both people involved in the relationship. Not everything is going to go your way. When we truly love someone or we start to grow feelings for someone, it's not as hard because we have the element of love in there. It's important to have a conversation about what's at stake, how both of you are feeling, express your feelings, and how things can change. How can we make some adjustments when now you're dealing with another person? It's not all about you. This is something that I've heard women throughout the years complain about. And they say, you know what? My husband, he just works. And when he gets home, he's tired. Yes, duh. He's tired because he's working. So all he wants to do is come home, eat, shower, get some loving under the sheets, and go to sleep. He's tired. That's his love language to you. When a man gets up early in the morning, goes out and works. Some of these men work hard outside manual labor jobs. That's his way of communicating to you his love, because he's providing for you through his sweat. We have to learn that to work together, that not everything's going to revolve around you. I remember years that I was married. My husband's passed away now, but I thought if my husband has to work in our anniversary, that's okay. We have the whole month to celebrate our anniversary. Or if it was a birthday that was coming up, his birthday and my birthday, we have the whole month to celebrate. It doesn't have to be the day of if he has to work. And so we learn to find compromises in our marriage, in our relationship, and put each other first. You realize that in order for your relationship to grow and be positive, it's not about you only anymore. A third thing is mistakes. All of us have been hurt by someone else's actions or words. It's very easy, as I mentioned in my other video, that when you get hurt, when you get wounded, it's very easy to close up and to put your guard up and to refuse to move any further. You don't want to budge from there. And it's natural to want to protect your heart from being hurt or disappointed again. But unfortunately, this leads us back to that selfish, because you're just thinking about yourself and you're not looking at the whole picture. You're not looking at the big picture. And before you know it, you're so far apart that the relationship is over. I remember when my husband and I, we used to get into some heated discussions, and we had a rule. We established this rule at the very beginning of our marriage, actually in our courtship, and it was no one leaves the house. We're angry at each other. Nobody leaves the house until it's resolved. And thank God, because we didn't have those issues of they get into a fight and one leaves. Usually it's the guy. And then she's at home crying and thinking, oh my God, what is he doing? Is he going with so-and-so? Is he cheating on me now? It just adds more to what is already there. As much as I wanted to leave, because really I was the one that wanted to leave, because we had agreed on this and there was integrity in our marriage, nobody left the house. These three things that I'm mentioning here can be overwhelming in our relationships, and we can decide to quit those relationships, or we can be the kind of person who knows what it's going to take to overcome these obstacles and keep growing. We can work through them and grow. And so to truly love the people in our lives, we have to overcome these relational issues and work through mistakes and push beyond our self-interest. We have to be willing to pour ourselves into those that we love. And it's not easy, I understand, but I do know that it's going to take a supernatural power, supernatural help, and that comes from God. God's power to love. In order to have a positive impact in our relationships, number one, you have to be accepting of the person that you're in a relationship with. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to read to you Romans 15:7. It says, accept one another then, just as Christ accepted you, in order to bring praise to God. It says, accept one another just the way Christ accepted you. How did Christ accept me? He accepted me just the way I was. And I was not perfect. I was not a good person. I had a lot of problems, a lot of issues. Me just the way I was. And I didn't stay like that. I've grown in my relationship with God. I've matured in areas. My character got to work throughout the years. But I didn't start that way. But he loved me right there where I was at. And so one of the biggest problems in relationships is that we're always trying to change the other person. We're trying to really make them like us. Why don't you? I've heard conversations with women and they're like, he needs to, and they're talking about the domestic, the cleaning, the cooking, the kids and all that, which is fine. But when you're trying to force it on your spouse, the things that you do, that's where the problems is. You show your love possibly through those things. Your spouse is going to show his love in other ways. As I mentioned earlier, he's the one that's going to get up early in the morning and go to work, 10, 12-hour shifts, and provide financially. Not that he can't grow more from that, but we have to understand and accept them as they are and as they come, because God does the same with us. Does it mean we're going to stay like that? No, but it doesn't mean that you're going to nag a better person out of him, because it doesn't work like that. Just like I would not be so receptive and I would not be open if I had somebody nagging on me and pointing out the things that I am short of and that I lack and that I need. I would not be receptive at all. So what would make us as women think that the men in our lives are going to be receptive to what we're telling them? They're not. And I'm sure you by now, I hope you realize that. So stop trying to change them and instead try to understand them and start cherishing them. What it means to cherish is to value them enough to seek to understand them. I have two examples on that. One of them was with my son when he was a little boy. I remember we're in the restroom and getting him ready to go to school, and he must have been about, gosh, I want to say maybe 4 years old, and he was brushing his teeth, and I had a cup by the sink so that he could rinse his mouth, and he kept trying to do this, gather the water and lap it up, put it up to his face, and I kept moving his hand and saying, son, use the cup. And it became like a little tug of war kind of a thing. And I remember that he almost was in tears, and he goes, I want to do it like dad. Let me do it like dad. So I realized in that moment that when my husband would brush it, sometimes he would just do this and rinse his mouth. And so my son looked up to his dad like his hero. And because I didn't understand that, of course, once that moment happened and I realized what was happening, then I would let my son rinse his mouth, cupping the water in his hands, because I understood the meaning behind it. And so it's the same thing. My other example was my husband, when we go to eat out and have dinner, lunch, or whatever, I have this thing where, and I still do, I eat slow. And I'm not trying to eat slow, but I just do. And so my husband was the total opposite. He was done like within 15 minutes. I remember that when we had our son and we would take him with us to the restaurants, and he must have been, I guess, 2 or 3 years old. And he would say, let's go, mama, let's go. I want to go. And my husband would say, wait, mama's eating, wait. And so I know that over the years, by then we were married like 3 or 4 years, it took my husband some patience to sit through the meal with me. And because he was real fast and he always had things going on, but he made adjustments. And I remember when he said that to my son, I recognized that he was understanding me. Focus and work on your own faults and your own character flaws, and trust God to deal with those people in your life. God will make the adjustments. God will make the changes. And while that's happening, you focus on you, on becoming a better version of you. The next thing is something that's going to improve our relationships is loving actions. When you do actions of love, they're actually essentials for strong relationships. These little small loving actions may seem insignificant to you, but they mean so much to someone else. And your loving actions actually will bring clarity and security to those that you love. It's in the little things that we do. I remember when we used to love to travel, take our vacations in the summer. We used to do weekly dates, my husband and I, a staycation. We would stay in town, but we would leave and not tell anybody where we were. I learned in our marriage how he wanted the thing, let's say the toiletries, how he liked things packed, what he liked to take when we would go on these little mini getaways or vacations. It's those little things that I thought, well, I know that he wants these items and he likes them this way. And as I would get everything together, it was those little acts of love that made a difference. They're really important, even though we may not think much of them, believe it or not, they make a difference. The third thing that will help improve our relationship has to do with forgiveness. And this is where you're going to let that forgiveness flow easily, because it's going to keep those relationships growing and maturing over time. The best relationships are built on forgiveness because they involve imperfect people who make mistakes. You're not perfect, they're not perfect. So it's important to learn early on in your relationship. And if you're already been in a relationship, it's not too late to start either. You can start already, you can start today. To say something like, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I was wrong. That's it. There's no, I'm sorry, but I was wrong, but no, just for us to own it and then just sit there. Let it sit there. Let that person in your life process what you're saying. because when we do that, we can grow closer. When we practice those loving actions, when we practice this ongoing forgiveness, because forgiveness is not just a one time. You're gonna have to learn to forgive throughout your relationships. These actions that I'm talking to you, they're gonna require God's supernatural love, because his love is going to help us push past our natural tendencies, which is what? To shut down, to get angry, to be selfish and just think about ourselves. And they're going to help us push past those tendencies and past our expectations. God's always willing and available to help us love others as he loves us. And so I hope this video helps. I hope you grow in your relationships. And I also have a link. I do coaching one-on-one. You're welcome to click on it and check out the information. And as always, do something good for you. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.